You jumped the gun right before I hit the button. You jumped the gun right before I hit the button, and now we're live. So good job. Anyway, yeah, you talked about failure, which is appropriate because that's gonna be a big thing in this here discussion of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. George, now you can introduce us if you would like.
Hello, Twin Stick fans. It's been a while. We've been busy with this thing called life. I am True Legend Killer, or you may call me George for this podcast because I think we're using our real names. To my left, and by left I mean probably left somewhere, we have Screw Loose.
He's above you. He's
above me. All right. Say hi, Jason.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Hi, Jason.
Star Wars
Jason.
podcast.
And we also have our little green dude that we will call Cody for this time.
I am the little green dude because I fell in paint and it was green paint. Actually, I fell in blue paint and then I fell in yellow paint and now I am green.
Mm-hmm. Well, that works.
So yeah, if the title of the video didn't scare you off, let me scare you off right now. If you haven't seen The Last Jedi, get the fuck out. Go away.
Yeah, it says spoiler cast.
Yeah, Jar Jar killed.
Pay attention.
Jar Jar Binks killed Picard, and so sucks for you. Now you know.
Or don't if you don't care about spoilers.
Yeah. You should though, because this is a movie worth watching, and if you know the surprises going in, I don't think it would be as enjoyable on your first viewing because there are a couple twists and turns through this thing. But first, let's get just some initial reactions from everyone around the table here. What did you guys initially think of The Last Jedi on your first viewing, Jason?
I really liked it. Actually, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to like it. I mean, I expected to enjoy it, but I was like, man, this is really a divisive movie, and people are kind of like love it or hate it, and I really enjoyed it. So that's initial impression. Had a good time with it. Yeah, I want to go see it again.
Yeah, I don't know if either of you guys have seen it twice. I've seen it twice.
I've only seen it once right now.
I've seen it once, so pretty fresh reactions from you guys. George, what are your initial statements on the movie?
So my initial statements was this is the first time that I really tried to go in blind to a movie. Mm-hmm. I only watched like the very first trailer I think they put out for the film. I wasn't actively seeking out watching trailers because I really wanted to be shocked, but I knew going into this movie I was going to be immensely emotional because of Carrie and of course the other passings that we had in the Star Wars family, R2-D2 and all. But with that being said, my initial impression was that I really, really, really liked this movie. I felt like, oh boy, I felt like Jason was saying, it was very divisive. For certain people, but I thought it was new. What they brought to the table was really, in some ways, new and fresh, and because of that, I really, really liked it. And
I think because of that is why it's so divisive among people. It seems like a 50-50 split down the Star Wars fan base, and I don't feel like a lot of their criticisms are unwarranted. It's just they have the same issues with the film that I do, but I also like the changes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I also,
it does, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I also,
because I think I understand what
as Red Letter Media would put it, I personally loved this movie. I don't know.
That was very cool.
I actually didn't love it on first viewing. I thought it was good, but there were a lot of pacing issues that I had with it, and a subplot that I just did not give a shit about. And on second viewing, the pacing actually felt a lot better, and the subplot with Finn and Rose didn't bother me as much. And I noticed a lot more things that I enjoyed a lot. Like I didn't even realize that Rey took the books in the end of the movie. You
Yeah.
guys notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that at the
We
end.
noticed that. Liz and I noticed that
I totally
during our
missed
viewing.
that.
So I have to admit there were some things, and we'll get into it, that I felt were silly, but not silly as unbelievable. Because, boy, especially with the new films in the First Order, they are really playing up this more so than I feel like they've ever done. The parallels to Nazi Germany and the Nazi Party and stuff like that. Of oh, we're just wicked bad guys being wicked bad guys. And I eventually want to bring that up with the whole point of like that chase, the basically half of the movie, the giant chase, and the way that the villains handled that. I want to bring that up. I didn't think it was bad. It was just it makes sense once you think about it. But deep down, I really enjoyed the movie. We both did. Liz and I went and saw it opening night, even though I had to teach the next morning. I didn't want any spoilers, especially for my students.
I didn't either. That's why I saw it opening night. So the stuff that you're talking about, you didn't like the Battlestar Galactica stuff then, with Poe and Holdo on the ship then?
No, I did like it. I just want to go into detail about it eventually.
We definitely will. There's a there's a lot there. The thing I didn't like was Canto Bight. I didn't like that planet. I didn't like how the casino just looked like something on Earth. Like even the costumes just looked mostly human. And the Fawniers running through and destroying the casino. It felt like the prequels to me. That's the thing that really bothers me in this movie. It feels like it's from a completely different movie and feels really out of place.
I think one place that we need to start, because it's the I don't want to say elf in the room, but it's definitely the thing that
Superman, Leia.
Stop.
Yeah, okay. That bothered me. That bothered me a little bit.
That did not bother me at all.
Bothered me that's a lot. What I'm talking about. I laughed both times so loud
about that, but the one thing I want to talk about is Rey's parentage. Supposedly, the supposed reveal, and this is where a lot of people are getting upset.
I'm seeing way more people get upset about Luke, which we'll definitely have to get into later.
Yeah.
The Rey's parents thing actually isn't upsetting as many people because they're so mad about what they did to Luke. But I was hoping this would sort of be what her parents are, and I'm glad it is.
Okay, yeah, so
I also am glad it is. But go ahead, George. We'll get into it as you said. Go ahead.
So first thing, obviously we've already said it, spoilers, but it's revealed towards the end of the movie. We have a big confrontation between Kylo, Rey, and Snoke, and eventually, Kylo, kind of, not to anybody's real shock, I guess, I don't know, he kills Snoke, and as he's convincing...
That was shocking. I did not expect them to kill off Snoke in the second movie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
Which also pisses people off because they spent 2 years speculating about this dude and who his past was and stuff, and I was like, I mean, I don't care that much.
It was wasting an actor, but that's true. Yeah. Anyway, so eventually he comes out to tell Rey that her parents, and she knows it if she looks deep down inside, her parents were nobody. They were druggies.
What's interesting is he doesn't tell her. He says he saw what she is, and he keeps telling her, like he did earlier in the movie, say it, and then she's the one who says they were nobodies, and then he's like, yeah, they were. You don't belong in this story.
They were just junk traders who left you for beer money or whatever.
And I think that's cool because I think what Snoke pointed out just previously in that scene made it really interesting was that as Kylo's power grew, the Force would bring balance and give a rise to
a good
light.
character to oppose him.
Yeah. And Snoke had assumed it was Skywalker, but really it's Rey. And I think Skywalker is actually Kylo's equivalent, while Rey is Snoke's equivalent. And Snoke got that backwards. But that's
Well,
that's theory
maybe.
speculating. Should we maybe start sort of going through the things that happen in this movie in a more linear order, so we're not just jumping back and forth?
Yeah, but I want to say my piece here before we move on.
Go for it.
I
We'll circle
actually
back to
really
it, too.
I enjoy the fact that Rey's parents are supposedly nobodies, that she comes from nothing. And there are a lot of people out there who are like, why is that? She's this big major character and she comes from nothing. And I mean, so what? First off, that's a major thing in a lot of stories. Like the hero rises from nothing to become some amazing thing. So I mean, it's a little bit
Yeah. Well,
it's a little.
And we sort of see that paralleled with Broom Kid at the end of the movie,
Right.
which is one of the few things that I liked about that we got from Canto Bite was they basically
Where he does the little mini force pull with the broom and then holds it up in the air.
And what's interesting, he parallels exactly the position that Anakin was in at the beginning of The Phantom Menace. Like, he's a small child who works for nothing and is strong in the Force. Like, and that's kind of cool. With aspirations now of becoming a Jedi. Probably because of Finn and Rose. Which I think is cool. But yeah, I have to circle back around to sort of the beginning of the movie here with Superman Leia, and even let's go a little bit before that. When the movie opened up, and Finn does his ride out to the front of the dreadnought, waiting for his
Poe.
Poe.
Yeah,
when Poe flies up and he's waiting for his planetary boosters to charge back up, and he's like, "I'm waiting for General Hux," and Hux does his super Saturday morning cartoony over the top response, and Poe's like, "Hux there?" and like trolling him. I was like, I mean, that's funny, but are we gonna do this the whole movie? And I got a little concerned about it. Thankfully, the answer is no. The humor is actually fairly minimal and just where it's appropriate, even though not all of it landed for me.
Yeah, me either.
But we get a pretty big fake out early on in the film here, because I knew going into this that Disney had said that they were not going to alter The Last Jedi at all after Carrie Fisher had passed, because they were impressed with the movie, and I was like, "You're a bunch of liars. You're a bunch of liars." And so when the bridge gets blown up and she gets sucked out, I was like, "Yeah, no surprise, Disney are a bunch of liars." Well,
yeah, I fully expected that to be her goodbye scene.
Well,
yeah,
I think
did too,
a lot
and I
of
was
people
like,
did because of. So, I think a lot of people thought that, because I think we all went into the movie with bated breath.
I think everyone went into the movie expecting something else and got something completely different, but I think what we got was better than what I wanted.
So, what I will have to say about the Leia thing is, and I know it was really divisive, because it was corny, but at the same time, I liked it. It was cool to see Leia actively using the Force.
Yeah, I don't like that about it.
Okay, I disagree with that.
Yeah,
when did Leia ever have Force training? When was it ever established that she ever had Force training? If it was in The Force Awakens, when she had said something like, I don't know, the things that he taught me when I knew him, that was all that needed to happen, but it never happened.
Or
so
they
when
could
she
have done
just
that in this movie
when she
too,
was
but
just like decided that she was going to pull herself back to the ship, then it
not only
totally
that,
fell flat.
but come back to life and like, I don't know. I know I know this is a world of space wizards,
Well, okay,
but like
so-
when you get
so that
spaced,
didn't bother me
that's
as
not
much.
how that works.
That didn't bother me as much because it's actually scientifically known that if you were to be in space unprotected, you could survive for upwards of 2 minutes without oxygen before you would freeze to death and die of hypoxia or not hypoxia.
However,
but
the cells in your body would turn in such a way that you would become extremely hideous, and you would be...
Oh yeah, it would be a terrible thing.
I don't care. It's a fucking movie about space wizards. That doesn't bother me, and I think they could have done it in a way that was a bit more subtle, but her Heisman Trophy Superman pose as she flew back in just looks really silly. And I also don't like that Leia can use the Force. I liked that she was had dedicated her life to just doing what she did when she grew up on Alderaan, which was be an extremely good organizer of people and in politics. And yeah.
Now at the same time, it doesn't. I don't like the fact that she could do it, but it's not impossible to think that that event unlocked some kind of hidden potential.
It's not impossible. It just seems very unnecessary.
But it's not established beforehand that she might even be that Force sensitive. Obviously, she is Force sensitive because she's
a Skywalker.
Skywalker, right?
Yes.
But she's not.
Yes.
There's no. I don't know. I have a problem with it not being established previously that she may possibly at some point have had some minor training.
Yeah, it could have just been a throwaway line too when she woke up. Like, yeah, it's a good thing my brother showed me some tricks, right? Like, just something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Be like, oh, okay.
Could have been cut out.
Moving on, because I'm probably the only person here who's read Bloodline, and that's the only book I've read where she talks about how her brother has shown her tricks in the new canon. But that's in a book; it's not in the movie, so it doesn't matter. And it's stupid that you should have to read a book to know that she's been taught something.
Okay, the fact of the matter is, I'd rather have her live than be killed.
No. I wanted her to live too, but there's plenty of ways you could knock her out for half of the movie than have her do Superman back into the ship. You could have just had the bridge explode and she gets knocked into a corner and something plugs up the hole and then people rush in and find her and take her to a medbay. You could have done anything to have her live in that situation without that stupid scene. I don't know if her positioning was maybe a little bit different, because I mean I understand the whole Force pull thing, right? Everyone when they use the Force has some kind of, they have to telegraph that, they have to show people they're using the Force. And I thought the
so
shot
that made sense,
of just her hand turning and the rocks moving past it was going to be it. I thought when it panned back into the camera, she would have moved. It would have shown that she moved herself back into the room, and I was like, that's going to be pretty cool. Like, it just slowly over time, and it'll be like, hey, look, she moved herself back. But, no, she actually flew like Superman, and it just looked silly.
Yeah, so actually in the theater that I was in, when that happened, like, applause erupted. So I was like,
really?
Oh, stop.
There was some laughs, and I laughed hysterically, both times. The time I saw it yesterday, there weren't any laughs, but there was a one guy who just went, "What?"
Wait a minute, yeah, because that's how I felt. I was like, no, come on.
Yeah.
But okay, whatever. It's in the movie.
I mean, I think a lot of it was just because it was like it was a fake out of her dying, and so we were just like, not only like, oh cool, she's alive, and then on top of that, you're gonna throw. I don't know. It was just a weird looking visual, is all. Which is strange because 99% of this movie has the best visuals I've ever seen in a Star Wars film, which we will get to when we talk about a certain hyperspace jump. Because boy.
Okay.
But I found really interesting about that scene was Kylo not pulling the trigger on his old mom there. I was like, oh, all right, we're gonna start going down this redemption path, and then when the TIE fighters came behind it, I was kind of shocked.
They talk about that he still has the conflict, right? And he was like, damn it, it's my mom, I just can't do it. So I thought that was a really cool little, just a moment there of giving people the idea that he might still have some good left in him.
Yeah.
And then of course his wingmen are like, well, I guess we'll do it.
Yeah, which I didn't see coming. I was like, oh, thank God they're not killing her off. And I was like, oh, fucking Christ.
Yeah.
But Leia becoming incapacitated leads to one of my favorite new characters in this movie, Holdo, played by what's her face from Jurassic Park?
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern.
That's the one. Who I had mixed feelings about at first, and then as the tension between her and Poe grew, I definitely appreciated what they were doing over time, considering how much it felt like a Battlestar Galactica episode of her trying to keep her plan quiet so that it doesn't get discovered by the First Order, and him, being the hothead that he is. I really, really like the scene where Finn and Rose approach him and they're trying to explain what the tracker does. And he's like, all right, do it one more time. And he's like, they're only tracking us from one ship. And he's like, so we blow that one up.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll blow up that ship. I'll do it right now.
Permission to jump in an X-Wing and blow some stuff up? Permission granted.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Laura Dern was an interesting character. Now that you've mentioned Battlestar Galactica, there are a lot of similarities of thinking of characters like you would see in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
now that you mentioned that, and I like that.
Yeah, I do too. We haven't seen that in any Star Wars anything. I can't even think of maybe the original Thrawn trilogy where there was some moments where it felt like the crew had some tension between on the actual ship as to what they should do and who should take power in this situation. I thought that was really awesome to see.
Yeah, and I really thought I was surprised that when that had the whole thing of who takes command once Leia's incapacitated, like I was just expecting it to be Poe, and Poe's like, I don't feel like I'm Captain Material, and instead we get this throwaway character, and I'm like, well, not a throwaway character. I'm sorry, this character we didn't know about. And I was very shocked about that. I was like, that's kind of cool twist I didn't see coming. I was expecting that whole,
I thought it was going to be Admiral Akbar. That was the first thought that crossed. He died. That's right, yeah.
But I like the fact that they introduce her and then immediately give her a background. They didn't let you, speculate on who she was. Now, I didn't particularly like her. Well, that's not true. I liked her and I liked her character, but I do feel like if she had communicated just a tiny bit better, that's sort of the
like CinemaSins thing that you have to put away from the side of your brain, because really the whole movie doesn't happen if she just pulls him aside and goes, "Look, I've got a plan. We're gonna get close to this planet, then we're gonna go out and transport unnoticed. Everything's cool."
Right,
but I mean, I can suspend disbelief to have conflict. Yes and no, because
it would have saved so many people's lives if she had said, "Look, Poe, here's the thing, man. I don't want you doing that because this is what's happening," and that would have stopped the whole situation. He would have been like, "Oh, I get it."
You could kind of make the argument though that he hasn't really shown himself to her to be trustworthy of information like that. But in that case, just throw his ass in the brig.
Right. Yeah, that could have been the case too.
But
obviously a weird, hot-headed upstart. You need to not be here giving me grief on trying to save our asses. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. The other issue I had with that whole chase scene was when the medical frigate got destroyed, and they're like, oh well, the evacuations are underway, and they're like, well, why? My thought was, why did you wait till you're out of fuel to evacuate?
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that earlier?
Yeah, you should have moved over to a different ship a long time. And why are you still there if the ship's just gonna fall behind?
Yeah, right. Why stay on the bridge? That was another problem I had. Why don't none of these ships have any kind of autopilot? They couldn't just bail and.
Well,
I don't know.
So it's sort of like the captain never abandons his ship kind of thing that I sort of apply, and I'm okay with that.
Well, yeah, I'm not against it entirely. I just feel like this is they have enough technology to warp space.
Well, but as we saw in Rogue One, they don't have email, so we it's selective technology.
All right. And again, this is nitpicking. I really like this movie a whole lot, and I have kind of equally good and bad points. I'm looking at the list that I made.
If I had to say anything that I don't like about what they decide to do with Poe, more relates to Rose and Finn than it does to Poe and Holdo, because they do a fantastic job with the scene at the beginning of the movie with Paige, Rose's sister, and the sequence of her knocking the remote off and taking that and sacrificing her life. But at the end of the day, her death is on Poe's hands, along with half of
everyone else
fleet.
There.
And I really thought they were going to bring that into conflict between him and Rose and have something for them to do to each other, and then her find out that he's the reason that her sister is gone. And I thought that could have played in a lot more with the sort of drama they already had going on there, but that never comes up at all because they get sent on a side quest, like Battlefront style.
Right. It really is unfortunate that they don't do more with Rose and her connection to her sister, because I like Rose's character, but I didn't really care about her that much. I cared about her initially when she was, when her sister's got the medallion in the ship and she's holding it, and she's like, man, this is it.
The way
and
she
then you see
Finn
Rose hold it, and you're
fantastic.
like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. And
I was like, God damn.
But then they don't do anything with it at all after that. There's nothing left. Except for one point when Finn's like, you have no idea how much that medallion means to her, and that's all you get.
And then DJ gives it back after he uses it. He's like, Hacian Smelt, great conductor. And I was like, aw, DJ.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, fuck you, DJ.
Yeah, right. But anyway, yeah, that's the unfortunate part, or subplot that doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't bother me that much because I like Finn well enough and I like Rose well enough, but it didn't seem... It seemed like it could have been a little more fleshed out. That was the one, it left a couple more questions than answers, maybe. Or maybe some, I was a little bit apathetic towards it, towards the end there.
Yeah, well, speaking of answers, how Luke responds to the final scene of The Force Awakens was certainly not the answer I was expecting from him.
That was hilarious.
When he throws it?
Theater, Rey hands him his lightsaber, and he looks at it, and then he just tosses it off the cliff.
Just over the shoulder like salt.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is this? Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I kind of wanted Rey to be like, are you serious, dude? You know what I went through to bring that to you? I wanted there to be a little bit of conflict there. Just like something.
Yeah.
Even if it was one line. I wanted to see her react to it.
She was just shocked, like, whoa, what? And he just walks past, and she goes down and saves the porgs. Oh god, that was the
porgs.
That was the one laugh I think they got out of me though. Was the porg jumping on the emitter and the other one looking into the
oh yeah.
the end of the lightsaber. I was like, all right, do it.
Well, porgs don't use the Force, so they can't actually turn it on. But
yeah, and then we get to see a Skywalker's day in the life on his lonely planet, refusing to teach Rey. And I never thought I would see bare breasts in a Star Wars film, but I saw 4 of them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was gross.
The blue milk seal thing.
I knew this was going to be a weird movie because Rian Johnson makes weird movies, but there were some weird things. I liked it. It felt like Star Wars. They were definitely.
I think the blue milk thing didn't. The blue milk scene didn't bother me as much as the
green milk. That was different because blue milk comes from banthas. Yeah.
Okay, whatever. The milk
nerd
scene.
alert. We got a nerd alert.
I don't think that bothered me as much as it did when he like pole vaulted across the cliff just to lift that thing up and stab a fish with it.
Yeah, why couldn't he do that from the other side? I didn't mind that, but there is one shot in that little sequence where it's like a close up on his face and he turns and gives like a really creepy smirch to Rey, and I was like, what's happening here? But I mean, he's sort of crazy old Luke, which reflects on what
he's
Yoda was in Episode 5.
He's been alone a long time.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
No,
I actually liked a lot of the island stuff.
The island stuff
you
pick a topic.
Can we talk about why he didn't actually train Rey in anything?
Well, he wasn't going to until he finds R2 in the ship, which I thought was a fantastic scene. It was the one time where he broke back into like a younger Luke, like R2, and that was a cheap move. And that's what convinces him.
He brings
all
up
right, I need to show her why.
Which I really like that.
Yeah, and
and that's fine. It's good that he didn't want to initially. I understood that, but when he does, he doesn't actually do anything.
Well, he tries to convince her why the Jedi need to end. He's not trying to teach her to be a Jedi. He's trying to teach her that the Jedi are fallible, and he thinks that means that they shouldn't exist at all because they.
But he says, I'll teach you the way of the Force. He says that. I'll teach you.
His line is, his
the
line
way of
is
the Force, but not to be a Jedi. That's what he's basically
no. He says exactly, I will teach you the ways of the Jedi and why they need to end, and then he closes the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 lessons.
And we got 2 of them in this,
which actually comes up to a little satisfying little joke.
What I find interesting is we only got 2 lessons in this movie because Rey bolts. So
yeah.
We get to
see after she went to the weird slimy hole, he was
true.
like, "Oh man, you went right to the dark. I guess
you could call the slimy hole a 3rd lesson, but the first lesson, was him on the top, actually explaining to her what the Force was, because she doesn't know what it was. No one's actually told her how she could do these things. So I was like, okay, it's cool. We're getting a re-explanation of what the Force is.
Right. That to me, by the way, was the best joke in the movie. Just reach out, and she like physically reaches out, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you feel that? That's the Force.
Yeah,
oh my
it's
God,
really strong with you."
That made me laugh super hard. I love that. But that
was pretty good. But that lesson was definitely about how the Jedi were wrong about getting rid of darkness doesn't bring balance to the light. There's good in both, and there's something that both sides have for you. It's about resisting the temptation that the dark side always has for you there, and that's what scares him, because she just was like, "Oh, I gotta dip my hand into that."
She just jumped in, yeah.
Yep. Which I find interesting, and that's why later on in the movie I wasn't sure what her answer to Kylo was gonna be when he was like, "You're a nobody, but not to me." And I was like, is she gonna... I don't know what's gonna... Yeah. Movie had me on my seat.
Well,
edge of my seat.
No, I enjoyed that. But, it left me with the question, though, of, because Luke goes at the end, he says, well, I'm not going to be the last Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
But he is, because...
He is for now,
because he never trained her to be a Jedi, and who's left? No one.
Who says he can't train her later?
I guess he can come back as a Force Ghost and train her.
If Yoda can come back and use the weather to start fires, then I feel like Luke can probably do shit with Rey.
And since when are Force Ghosts tangible? Is that something that's always been around? Can Yoda?
Nope.
Could Ghosts always touch people?
These are the way the Force works in this movie. I love the new additions to, but it is another reason why a lot of people don't like this movie, because to them, for 7 other movies, the Force has worked one specific way, and now we finally have an expansion on that after probably
it's not something I'm upset about. I'm just curious, because I don't remember that ever being the case, it
was never a case. I've never read or seen or played anything where you could have a Force apparition projected not only to be in a physical place, but he's not actually physically there. When Luke is doing his confrontation with Kylo at the end, he never strikes his lightsaber with him, and he dodges every move that he makes.
Yeah, that's the giveaway. If once you pay attention, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, I've heard, Force projection is something I remember reading about a long time ago, but I don't know about that kind of distance. But I mean, I don't know. I think it was, it was interesting to me, though, because he had everyone fooled when he walked into the room and he held Leia's hand for a minute and kissed her on the forehead, and another pretty decent joke.
Hands her the
says,
dice
I know
that
what you're
later
thinking.
disappeared too.
I changed my hair.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I like that.
No, that whole sequence at the end there was fantastic, because I got from Luke what I always wanted from Yoda, was for a Jedi to win a physical confrontation like that without ever using physical violence, and that's exactly what he did. Like he literally used his mastery of just the Force and didn't have to use a laser sword in front of the First Order, as he put it. Which I thought was fucking awesome, because that's the whole thing that Yoda taught him in Episode 5, and that George just totally threw away when Yoda not only has a lightsaber, but is a jumping jackrabbit with it.
He's a little flippy spider monkey with Count Dooku. Yeah.
Yeah. But Yoda in this movie, which I 100% was not expecting, after Rey leaves and he goes to burn down the tree, I thought he was just going to go burn down the tree, and then it pans past Yoda's head, and we get what might be my all-time favorite scene of any Star Wars movie, and it's not just because I obviously fucking love Yoda the most, but because I think it's probably the best written. Where Yoda tells him there's nothing in that tree that the girl Rey does not already possess. And I don't know if Yoda knew she had taken the books, or
right.
Yeah,
that's my thought.
It doesn't matter if he did
There's
one way or
nothing
another.
there she doesn't already know.
Yeah,
and then at the end.
Well, I think the fact that Yoda already knew that she took the.
Well, even if he didn't, he's still not wrong, which I find interesting. And his talk there with Luke about how, the greatest teacher failure is, which was the whole reason why Luke pulled a Mitra Surik. We see that for the first time in an actual Force movie, someone literally severing their connection with the Force. That's why he did that, because of his failures and his learning of the Jedi's failures throughout the prequel era. And Yoda tells him, no, that's part of it. That's the most important part of it, is your failures. Because they are what we grow beyond. I can't remember what exactly he says.
Yeah, he just basically tells him, learn from your mistakes and get over it.
Yeah. And it was really cool. I gotta
like
talk
that.
about the physical aspect. Is Yoda to me looked really great. The fact that they mostly went
actually
back to
used
being
the
a puppet.
I loved it. And he was all wacky
like
again. He was like,
yeah,
I loved it. It was so good.
Right.
Do we want to talk about Canto Bite a little bit?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
What did you guys think of Canto Bite?
Okay, so I don't think I hated Canto Bite. I think I didn't appreciate it very much, but I wasn't bored during Canto Bite. It had a place, but not a very good place. It's the only reason it was there was to introduce Benicio del Toro, and
yes,
they
needed someone.
I didn't really appreciate it. I mean, they went from one section of a plot to, okay, never mind, now it's Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
And later they come back to
a lesson about the
environment
and nature being trapped by.
It's a little bit of a political statement.
Yeah,
but
I liked.
It didn't have to be.
I love the idea though of the arms dealers that Benicio del Toro brings up, and them. Finn's like, yeah, they're all bad people. They give their weapons to the First Order, and he's like, yep, this dude gave it to First Order. Oh. And the good guys, so it's all a machine, man.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot, and I think if they expanded more on that stuff and less of the stupid, horrible-looking fawny or horse creatures, I maybe would have enjoyed it a bit more. But God, I really don't like that sequence of them escaping with them and running through the forests and the casinos and the streets.
Again, that was more of a political statement.
I love the music through that sequence, though. Music was great in there, but oof.
I can't really say I liked it when they first got there. It was a bit too much like the original Cantina.
See, I thought it just felt like I had walked in the Table Mountain Casino, and it didn't seem much different, which is why I didn't like it. It just looked like a casino commercial to me. Aside from the little creature who kept mistaking BB-8 as a slot machine, which I also didn't like, the BB-8 using coins to take somebody down.
The guy. I didn't appreciate that. That wasn't very whatever. I mean, it could have been done better. It wasn't. Again, these aren't the worst things, but they probably could have been cut.
There are other ways you could have gotten around there. Because a lot of the film doesn't end up being connected to it, but they really just needed someone who would betray the resistance to the First Order, and that's why they needed to go get someone like Benicio del Toro's character. DJ, I
Yeah.
believe his name is.
Now, the thing about his character, I'm going to go into this real quick, is that I liked his character, but why did it have to be Benicio del Toro? It could have been literally anybody.
Well, I think
it could have been George. George could have been like, hey, and it would have been just as fine. Now,
how's your stutter,
like
George? You got a good stutter? No, I like Benicio del Toro too. I think he added a good flair to this character. It made him stand out amongst a lot of the other rogues that we've seen in the movies. It's like I could definitely pick him out in a lineup from just his character.
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed his character. I enjoyed the fact that he was almost realistic when it came to this scoundrel, because we've had scoundrels in the past, scoundrel characters, but this fact of he really is out for himself, he sort of feels bad about it, but he's like, I gotta do me,
Yeah. And cover my own ass. It's just business, and he's right.
A part of me wants him to come back, but even if he doesn't, that's fine too.
Yeah, I'm cool one way or the other, but I definitely loved his statement when he leaves, and he's like, yeah, they blow you up today, you'll blow them up tomorrow, just business. Yeah. It's like, yeah, perfect, that's a bounty hunter, I love it, that's how someone who is like that would act. And they didn't get the flower guy that Maz said she would trust. They found somebody else, and he's clearly not trustworthy, so yeah, I dig it.
Yeah.
Well, trustworthy enough.
Well, not
got
really.
The job done.
Well, they didn't get the job done. That's the problem.
Well, okay.
They failed at everything.
Got the job done.
That's the other thing I love about this movie. Every single character fails at everything they try to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody succeeds at anything. Snoke wants to kill Rey. Don't happen.
Can we talk about the really big thing here is the reveal of what Luke's moment of hesitation.
Yes. Well,
and I gotta admit, this is what's really divisive for a lot of people, and
not without reason. Like, if you hate this movie because of that, I don't blame you. I personally love it. I think it's
You're talking about his story about Kylo Ren.
Yes. Why Kylo Ren destroyed the temple? I actually like this reason a lot, but I can totally understand why people would hate it. But yes, continue, George. Sorry.
Okay, so it comes to the realization is Kylo keeps telling Rey, "Did you find out the truth from Luke about what he did to me?" Like, okay, I gotta point out too. In my opinion, Kylo is still the most whiny little bitch villain that's ever been a whiny little bitch villain. But with that being said, it comes to find out that Luke had been witnessing Ben's darkness for a while. And he goes in one night when Ben is sleeping, and he sees the darkness rising into him. And in a moment of hesitation, he draws his lightsaber, but then decides he can't kill his nephew. But then it's too late because Ben wakes up and Snoke has been whispering in his ear for a long time, apparently. Mm-hmm. And Ben freaks out, destroys the temple, takes a few of the students with him. And that's Luke's big failure, is the fact of he, I guess, doubted his own his own blood. He didn't do what he needed to do to stop the evil.
He failed Kylo. He straight up failed Kylo. Okay. And what I didn't like when it was first revealed, when Kylo described it, because Kylo described it as he came into his tent to kill Kylo that night. And I was like,
well, okay,
I don't like
so
that.
No, I did like that.
I don't like that.
I did like that because you got to hear it from both sides, and then decide for yourself which one is right.
Once I heard it from Luke's side, I liked it because Luke described it as he was worried about it, so he went to go check up on him and used basically the power that Kylo abuses all the time of looking into someone's mind with the Force, and what he saw triggered an instinctive reaction in him to pull out his lightsaber and ignite it. And as soon as he realized that's what he was doing, he was completely devastated and horrified that could be his reaction to seeing what he saw. And that's when he felt shame, and not without consequence, and sees that Ben woke up. And that, to me, I almost feel that probably not killing Han, because Han didn't have anything to do with that. But I felt so much more sympathy for Kylo after learning that, because yeah, he just woke up and his master's standing there, totally failed him. Right? I mean, I think that's
from
fantastic.
His perspective, the way he tells the story, it's easy to believe his point of view.
Well, and he's not wrong. His point of view is the truth. He woke up, his master is standing there with a lightsaber. He never got an explanation from Luke. He just thought he was defending his own life. And
yeah.
No, I totally get Kylo.
I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that goes back to the whole fact of how does that well, I guess it doesn't, nothing really justifies it, but how does this justify Han's death in the last movie? Well, what did Han do that was
he says all the time that he needs to let go of the past.
Yeah.
And kill it if necessary.
Snoke never tried to kill him in his sleep, like, right? Like a young Ben probably felt Snoke was a bit more trustworthy than someone who sneaks into his tent with a lightsaber to try and kill him. Obviously, it's not what Luke was doing, but in his eyes, that's exactly what he was trying to do. And he probably had put a lot of blame on his parents. Like, they trusted me with this motherfucker? Like, yeah, I'd be pissed at them too. But there's definitely a lot of conflict with him because, I mean, Snoke was obviously leading him down a dark path, and it's just horribly ironic that Luke cemented it that way. And that's why I was really glad that after he kills Snoke and they defeat the Praetorian Guards, that he doesn't just, all right, Rey, let's go defeat General Hux now. We're on the same
how cool was that, by the way? That whole fight scene with him was really good.
That was a really good fight scene.
It was very Kurosawa. It was oof. You definitely tell that Rian
I also
Johnson
liked the
loves
fact that the guard, the Imperial Guard, could block the. They had some resistance to the lightsabers. They were blocking it with like bracers, and they weren't instantly defeatable
light
enemies.
Whip.
Like
they had a light whip, motherfuckers. It was awesome.
Yeah, that guy was rad. Those guys were cool. Now the only problem I had with that scene. Now I understand Rey not using like a force push or whatever to move him away, but
yeah,
Ben,
that's true. Why didn't he?
He's got enough skill and training to be able to knock these guys around a little bit, and he never does. But
or just like
regardless,
use the force
that
to
was
snap
a good scene.
Cool.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was ridiculously well choreographed. And I thought it was cool that they finally showed the differences between Kylo and Rey. Like, Kylo took out like 5 of those motherfuckers. Like, Rey could barely shoot him 2.
Untrained.
And I was like, yep, perfect. And like people just didn't understanding that Kylo got shot with Chewie's blaster in the last movie. And they telegraph it 4 freaking times how powerful that blaster is. Like, yeah, he would be really horrible while fighting Rey at the end there. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know why people.
Yeah, right. He's going to be really weak, and yeah.
Yeah, but at their height, like, holy crap, that fight was so awesome.
It was. This was also the first Star Wars movie that we never saw a one-on-one lightsaber battle.
That's true.
When you think about it.
That's
when
true.
You think about it, there was no lightsaber battle.
No, you're right. We think we're seeing one with Luke and Ben at the end, but nope.
But no lightsabers clash in that either, you know.
Nope. Yeah.
The other thing I want to point out is, number one, I liked and I didn't like the fact of Kylo killing Snoke. I thought it was a nice twist, too. But it was completely like downplaying this villain that they were supposed to be building up, and in my opinion, a waste of a very, very good actor.
Well, let's discuss
Andy
this
Serkis,
a bit,
you mean?
because I think people put more importance on Supreme Leader Snoke after seeing him in The Force Awakens than they needed to. Obviously, we've learned now that Rian Johnson didn't have any boxes to check or anything, so he just got to tell a story he wanted to tell, and he, like me, didn't like Snoke in the first movie and wanted him gone. But when you compare Snoke in this movie to what you knew about Palpatine in Episode 6 before the prequels had come out, you actually get a lot more Snoke than you do from Palpatine.
Well, maybe so, but Snoke is touted as like the most powerful Sith ever. Essentially, he's more powerful than Palpatine. He's way more powerful than Vader.
Well,
the whole way he goes about things, and he's not a Sith.
Well, in Return of the Jedi, they definitely make it seem like the Emperor is way more powerful than Vader, considering how obedient Vader is to him. And that's the first movie where you had seen Vader even act like that, so you assume this guy's fucking crazy, and he's shooting lightning out of his fucking hands? What the shit is this? Who is this guy? Yeah. And then he dies in that movie. You got 2 movies of Snoke, and yeah. So well, okay. I don't really have an issue with him being gone. I'm very glad he's gone. I think cementing Kylo as the proper villain is way more interesting. That brings up another
point that I wanted to bring up, is that this movie does do a lot of new stuff.
Okay? Yes. Oh yeah.
But it also is just episode 5 and 6 together.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. But the good thing is that it's already taken care of episode 5 and 6. So now they don't have to do that anymore. Now they can just do whatever.
That's the thing that's really interesting to me about The Last Jedi, is it feels like the end of a trilogy. Like, if Lucasfilm got nuked tomorrow, I'd probably be okay with this being the final chapter of the Skywalker saga. Like,
well, I feel like it might be.
Let's put it this way: if Kathleen Kennedy herself walked up to my fucking house and said, "We need someone to write episode 9. We want you to do it," I'd slam the door in her fucking face. Like, I don't know where the fuck you take this story to after this.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part of it, right? Does that mean we don't have real Star Wars anymore? Is it just going to be Disney Star Wars now? I mean, it is, but what is that going to be like?
Still,
right? That's just all speculative. But.
Well, we have no idea, because JJ and Chris Terrio are writing the next one. I wish they would let Rian Johnson write the next one and then just have JJ direct it. But I guess Rian Johnson's working on setting up an entire new trilogy that he's going to be in charge of, which I think, yeah, after seeing this, I'm super on board with that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But yeah, this movie swings for the fences, unlike a lot of other big name IPs that I've seen this year that seemed like Justice League's the polar opposite of this, playing it super safe. This one just swings as hard as it can and hits some home runs and a couple foul balls, but when you swing as hard as you can, you got to be applauded for the effort. And
yeah, and this movie was, in my opinion, I can see where people are saying this movie was or was not good. I don't think there's going to be any middle ground with people that are, like Justice League is. I enjoyed Justice League, but deep down, it's I can watch it again, but it's not going to be something that I'm going to be. This is a must watch or must not watch.
It's already flatlined. See, my dad watched Justice League. I didn't watch it. I went with my folks to do that. It was my birthday that weekend, and my mom and I went in to go see Murder on the Orient Express, which if you haven't seen that, go watch that. That's a good movie. But I didn't want to watch Justice League because I hadn't seen Wonder Woman yet, so I just was like, I need to watch that first. But
yeah, you do need to watch Wonder Woman.
My dad loved it.
Really good.
But anyway, that's not even the subject we're on here. I don't know why.
Yeah. So, but anyways, so back to what I was saying was that. Now I lost what I was saying. The fact that it's so divisive, but it goes back to what Cody is saying is now that they've kind of like, yeah, sure, Luke could come back as a Force ghost. His death made sense to me, I guess, because he overexerted himself. And
that's actually brought up earlier when Rey and Kylo link themselves. Well, not him; it's Snoke linking them, and that's revealed too.
And
when Kylo says, "You're not doing this," when Kylo says,
he's like, "You can't be doing this. The effort would kill you." Yeah, they set that up.
Yeah.
And I love how they sort of set up the rules in the dialogue there. Like, can you see my surroundings? Because I can't see yours.
Yeah. Well, that's baiting.
I love that stuff. I thought that
baiting.
Was cool.
That was Snoke drawing Rey to him. That was Snoke drawing
100%.
Rey to Kylo and not letting Kylo see where she was, so he went to her. Then because she would have a better chance of turning him on her ground.
Also,
that was the way I got
Snoke didn't know where she was. He knew she existed, but he didn't know where Luke was hiding, so he couldn't mimic the surroundings.
Oh, right.
Right?
That too, yeah.
So I think that stuff is awesome. And I actually really liked that relation as it grew through the movie and stuff. Like, after she has her Dagobah moment in the cave, which was really well done with the, like, snapping and the past and present versions of herself. I do have to admit, though, that when she was like, I want to see my parents, and it shows herself, I was like, clone. God damn it, clone.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about it that
thank
way.
God,
Thank
God it wasn't that, but I was a little surprised about that. But I really liked their whole little secret force meetings and like her like having a really heart-to-heart moment in her little tent with Kylo, talking about her experience that she had there, and then Luke coming in and seeing them both and being like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
And actually, I mean, to go back towards George's point, I think it's foreshadowed actually a few times that Luke is going to die, a few times pretty heavy-handedly, because he says, I came to this island to die. Yeah. So immediately there, that's like, I plan on not leaving here.
Well, he tells R2, nothing could make me leave, and yeah.
Right. Nothing's going to make me leave. And then there's the scene when Rey is fighting him, and she defeats him essentially to get him to tell her what happened.
Well, she goes.
So he's on the ground. She's in the position of power, and he's not. Right. So that's they're giving her that moment, ending Luke, essentially. Yeah. And then again when he overexerts himself and dies. But that was a big twist to me. I didn't think that he was actually force projecting. I thought that he somehow traveled.
I didn't either. I thought he took his X-wing down and found the way
because they show it in the ocean.
And, right? Yeah, and I thought he was there. I love the get that dirt off your shoulder moment was incredible.
The precious. I actually
that felt a little bit more like Mark Hamill than Luke to me, but I totally forgave it. That was fantastic. And I don't know if you noticed, but the second time I noticed it, every time that him and Kylo are having their quote unquote fight, he doesn't make any red marks in the salt. As no
fighting. Red marks in the salt. He has no dust on him.
And Kylo does every time. It was just small little touches like that. Also, the little wink he has to C-3PO as C-3PO is about to say something. Because it sort of makes sense that a droid would know he's not actually there. Like, dude, you don't have any life signs.
Yeah, there's no life. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and he just sort of winks at him. Hold on, man.
A few of those facts. Yeah, he's not making marks. He's not covered in dust. He's breathing just fine after that cloud of salt that he's been in for the last 45 seconds.
I was really confused, too, when Poe and them follow the crystal critters to the back and they find that they are going through a small little rock pile. I was like, the fuck, Luke, why didn't you keep the rocks moved for them?
Yeah, right.
And then they reveal, oh no, this motherfucker's going Super Saiyan 9000 over here. Projecting himself on an astral plane across star systems. Yeah. I was like, hell yeah!
It's over 9,000!
No, that was the biggest like thunderous applause from me was when he just reveals that he's still on the fucking island and just says, "See you around, kid," and vanishes. I was like, motherfucker, that's awesome, because I thought they were gonna kill him on Creighton.
I also remember a lot of people. Well, I've read about a lot of people going like, well, it was a really disappointing death for Luke, and no. I don't agree with that, because it started with him on Tatooine looking at two suns, right?
Yep.
And then it ended with him on the island looking at two suns. He was just like, yeah, I'm home. That was it. That's how I felt about it. And I was like, that's good.
And he completely went through his character arc of going, okay, it is worth saving. I won't be the last Jedi, and I will stall them here to ensure that there is hope. And that's a great way for him to go out. That's how he came in, was him trying to save that that spark of hope.
Galaxy needs a legend. Yeah. So I mean.
Yep. And he obviously gave the galaxy a legend when you have the kids at the end reenacting the scene of him with the lightsaber there and the First Order troops. Oh god, that was so cool.
Yeah. No, I liked all of that.
I love Luke in this movie. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Talk about one more disappointment. Captain Phasma. After we started stroking this movie
yes,
for a while.
you know that really sucks.
Yeah, I agree. It sucks
it really
a lot.
Sucks.
She gets a whole book. She gets a whole prequel book, and she gets 2 scenes in this movie. And it's like what?
And it's pretty unfortunate because she is a very strong character. Phasma is a strong character, and Gwendolyn Christie is awesome as an actress. I don't watch Game of Thrones. But I've seen some scenes with her, and she's fucking awesome. And I've seen her in interviews. She is really that big.
She was really great in Hail Caesar too.
Oh yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
As the twins.
But yeah, for her to be just again totally pointless, she didn't have to be in the movie at all.
No, and
there was no reason for her to be there.
It would have been really awesome if the First Order noticed Rose and Finn taking their ship out. And them going like, whoa, hold on, what's this? And be like, hey, Phasma, go check that out. Follow them.
Yeah, give her something.
Have Phasma chase them around the stupid casino planet instead of these random nameless cop people. Like, have her be the one pursuing them and stuff, and then she ends up catching them and capturing them, and then it would be really awesome at the end when Finn fights her again. Because you spend the whole movie of her chasing them, but yeah, I don't know. I totally forgot she was even a thing until she showed up. Like at the end.
No, I never did.
I forgot she even existed.
I had some hope for her because they gave her, her character is so awesome. Like she's such a powerful, like,
and she looks
highly decorated officer. She's got the mirror-plated armor so that the blasters can't hurt her. She's obviously set up to be this major thing. But then they don't give her anything to do, other than call Finn scum a couple times.
Yeah, that bothers me way more than Snoke because she got Boba Fett.
She got shorthanded
really hard.
Yeah.
And that's such a bummer. Okay, I want to talk about the thing that bothers me even more than Canto Bight. And it ruins Rose for me as a character that I like.
Oh,
I really liked her.
I think I know.
And there's a scene in this where you think Finn is going to do his ultimate end for his character arc, starting as the guy who runs away from the fight in Force Awakens, and ending his arc as the guy who gives his life for the fight to keep the Resistance alive. And this stupidest decision of this random new character smashes her skimmer, into his skimmer, not only endangering her life but also his life that he was clearly willing to give up, endangering the entire last bit of the Resistance, all because she selfishly loved him out of nowhere. What the fuck?
After knowing him for 2 days.
Yeah.
Also, the other question about that is when did she have time to turn her speeder around and get to him in time?
Yeah. That's it.
Because she peeled off. She went under orders, peeled off, and went the other way. So
yeah, I'll chalk that up to another suspension of disbelief because her action alone is stupid enough.
But it bothers me.
Oh yeah. You're allowed to have that bother you, especially for that moment. And it's odd because Finn plays it off as a no, what do you didn't save me, you destroyed the Resistance sort of thing when she kisses him. It's not reciprocated at all. I was like, is Finn gonna leave her there and just hop back over to the first, what the shit is going on here? I did not understand it. And then he's like, oh no, we need a medic here. And I'm like, they all know what she did, right? Who didn't see that happen? Like, why would anyone care for her?
She's still a member of the Resistance, and she went through a moment of passion, I suppose you could call it, right? So I guess, to me enough, that particular thing is somewhat forgivable, because that's when they're starting to push that message. But for them to do it there in that scene was not right.
It would be forgivable if they established that she cared about Finn in that way at any point earlier in the movie, but they don't. It would have been way more appropriate if she just bumped his ship out of the way and took his place and did it herself, like, hey, going to see my sister, right? Like, how cool would
that would have made more sense.
No, they're dead.
But
then she would have just been a throwaway character too.
Well, she would have had a bit more reason than, I guess, to have both Holdo and Rose be introduced and killed off in the same movie would be kind of like, you're just a little scared to kill off the new guys, but I don't know. Holdo's death, though, that's my new desktop background. Once I get this motherfucker on Blu-ray, I'll tell you that right now. That was incredible.
That was rather amazing. I really loved that. That was cool.
That was maybe one of the most. The
only question I have there, and again, it just involves more suspension of disbelief. I guess, because we can't, we don't have hyperspace.
It's not.
But the thing is she targets the ultimate dreadnought, Snoke's dreadnought.
Snoke's ship, yeah.
But in doing so, she destroys the entire fleet. Everyone is just ninja sliced. So that was like, oh, okay, why did that happen? But it was also so awesome. It was so awesome.
Well, I chalked it up to, like, when a ship explodes, like, things go off in random directions, right? And these things
but this
explode
and
go off
before the explosion. This was when she just goes and
yes,
like,
but when her ship would hit Snoke's ship, the explosion would send debris off another place, and if she wasn't going at hyperspace, they'd probably still get hit by other debris, right? But they just wouldn't be going fast enough to pierce through their shields.
Well, I think eventually, but it was instantaneous.
But yeah, it was instantaneous because it's hyperspace, and because you're going through it hyperspace, when you collide with something, the things that are already going in hyperspace ain't going to slow down just because they got blown up and separate off in the different directions. They're going to cut through anything and everything they get to.
I mean, that explosion is going to go laterally before it starts to spread in any kind of diameter. It's going to travel in a straight line, going that fast. I don't think that's what happened, is what I'm trying to say. It was, as soon as she passed through, everything had this like blue slice going through it, like the hyperspace trail. And that's fine. Maybe
you'd have to
maybe
slow it down to
a
ridiculous speed, at a ridiculously slow speed to see all the pieces cut through everything. But I was totally okay with it. I had that quick thought for a second too, and then I was like, oh well, yeah. I mean, if I throw two ice cubes at each other, they're gonna split off in random directions. If they're going at hyperspace, what the fuck are they gonna do? Who the hell knows?
Yeah, I am fine with the fact that it happened. I want an explanation, because it's bothered me a little bit since it did. But oh my god, that was the best scene. It was so good, because she was just like, that's enough of this fucking garbage. But again, autopilot. They don't have autopilot for some reason.
A plot.
So here's the thing. I mean, it goes back to this whole chase thing, and a lot of people that I hear complaining about this is they had all this firepower. Couldn't they just sped up, broken through their shields, and killed them instead of waiting?
No,
and Liz brought up the good point of, no, it goes back to this whole Nazi, what George Lucas originally made them out to be, the Nazis, is by having them run out of fuel, it fuels their fear and puts more fear into the others. Right. So it was just this stereotypical "mwahaha, we're evil, we'll wait for them to."
Well,
it's also stated by one of the captains on the Dreadnought that they can't catch up to them. Their ship is smaller and lighter, and therefore faster.
Yes, exactly. Hux is like, why the fuck aren't we just blowing them up right now? They had no interest in doing the slow down fear thing. He was just like, their ships are faster and lighter than us. Like, we can speed up, but they can always use a little bit more fuel to get ahead of us. So just I mean, eventually in
Yeah, we're
time
just
we'll
gonna wait
catch
it
up to
out.
them because they're gonna run out of fuel. Like they have smaller ships than us, and nothing we can do. That's how physics works. Sorry, Hux. And he's like, God damn
Yeah.
it. All right, fine, whatever.
Man, I want to catch him, man.
I want to kill him now, mommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't dislike Hux in the first movie. I didn't think he was a very great character. In this movie, I still don't dislike him, but he's a little too Saturday morning cartoonish for me.
Yeah, he's a little too weasel.
Yeah, and it's weird
Stevie
because Donald Gleason's a fucking amazing actor. I don't know if you guys have seen Ex Machina, but he's fantastic in that. Also with Oscar Isaac.
No, I haven't watched that yet. I want to watch that.
He's also in The Revenant. He's a really great actor, so it's just so weird to see him just wasted as a dude who goes, "Your resistance will be futile." It's I don't like it. What else we got?
No, but yeah, the whole thing, you know, the whole hyperspace thing, and when she finally makes that decision, I mean, you kind of saw it coming, right? She's gonna ram him. I didn't think she was gonna jump to hyperspace. I just thought she was gonna.
No, I just thought that she was.
I am now your focus.
I thought she was just gonna move
them.
her ship in between the sights of them, so that they couldn't fire upon the transport.
Oh, just block
she would just physically block them.
Sight.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. I don't know if I've seen that, but what we got was way cooler, so it's fine.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
I want to talk a bit more about Poe and his arc in this movie because I really like it, and I think they're trying to have it set up so that he can slowly be the guy who does become the commander of the Resistance, because he starts out obviously as the guy who just wants to hop in an X-wing and blow shit up. And it's because he does that the Resistance even finds themselves in this situation of being tracked through hyperspace because of his greed to take down the Dreadnought. It's why Rose's sister is killed. Again, I wish we got more tension between him and Rose, because she never even learned that about him. Maybe JJ will do something with that in the next movie. That could be cool.
Yeah, that could be a plot point.
But he's also the reason why the transports get destroyed at the end of the movie, because he sent Finn and Rose off to go find some person to go hack shit. They brought back someone untrustworthy who sold them out and killed more things. So because of Poe,
chain of command says that it's Poe's fault ultimately.
And I think that's super awesome, because it was like, well, Poe's wrong, but Holo's also wrong, because if they find out about the transports, Poe's right, they're fucking done. But she's right, because he's risking the entire rebellion on just the hopes of some technician, a dude who used to be a stormtrooper, and a random thief.
Yeah.
So
his character does mature, though.
Oh, 100%. At the end,
really
he's like, "We're not gonna make it. Turn your skimmers around. I'm not gonna lose all of us. It's a suicide run."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "That's awesome." Like, I loved his character arc through this movie.
And he points out to Finn, he's doing this so that we can escape.
Yep. Yeah,
because
we need to find a way out.
It was that learning moment from Holdo. Like, she did it for that reason. That's why he's doing it. I understand that.
It was really clever.
I like that.
Yeah, it was really great writing too, from the perspective of the screenplay, because when you look at Finn's arc of him being the guy who used to run away, and now Finn being like, we got to go out there.
He wants to go.
We got to go help Luke, and because of where Poe has become through this movie, he's like, no. We got to find a way to get everyone out of here. How did he get in here? Let's find a way out. No, I agree. I think that's fantastic. I love that how that whole thing was set up. I really do hope that once Leia obviously is either killed off in the opening crawl, or something. I hope Poe becomes the next leader of the Resistance.
Well, they certainly lead up to that when he's like, "Follow me," and she goes, "What are you looking at me for? Follow him." Like, she's handing him the torch in a light manner there. I like that too.
Yep. What else have we not covered yet in this movie?
Well, I don't know that we have anything on my list that we haven't got.
You could talk more about trying to get George back in the call. He got dropped out apparently.
Oh.
But we could talk more about Kylo becoming the main villain of this new trilogy.
Yeah, killing Snoke and becoming Supreme Leader Kylo, and not he skips Darth essentially.
Yeah. Well, there's no more Sith stuff going on, so
yeah,
he's in there because he's got his Knights of Ren that hopefully we'll see in 9 that we didn't get to see at all in this movie, which I was kind of bummed it out.
Well, I sort of was, but also there was no reason to show him yet because now he's in power. He only got to power now.
Yeah.
So it would make sense or at least from my point of view. I haven't read any of the books that might have changed that opinion for me, but yeah, I didn't really have an issue with not seeing the Knights of Ren.
No, but I didn't either. I didn't need to get every answer from The Force Awakens to be answered in this movie, and I didn't need to see everything that we were showed in her little flash preview to come out in this movie. There was already more than enough stuff in this movie, so much so that it, I think, got a little overpacked in some places.
Apologies. Skype decided to kick me off for whatever reason.
Because Skype,
I don't know
Skype
why.
is Skype, and Skype hates everybody. Yeah.
So, but anyways, I don't know where exactly you guys left off. I will be right back because I need to have a little intermission, but I will be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there were some answers, although not all of them were real satisfactory. I think for a lot of people, most of them were for me. I had some issues, but ultimately, I think it does well enough to keep me interested enough to watch Episode 9. And see what happens.
I mean,
not that I wouldn't anyway. Anything that's coming out, I'm going to watch because, of course, I will. But
well, if you asked me what I thought the story of Episode 9 was going to be before I watched The Last Jedi, it would have been something. It would have been 100% different from what it is now. Because now I have absolutely no clue, which is awesome. I think they could do anything, which is really
what are they
cool.
going to do now?
Yeah. I think JJ ended The Force Awakens in a place where he sort of forced the story to be one thing in Episode 8. Like, it definitely had to be sort of Empire adjacent because you had to have Rey and Luke be together for half the movie, and you had to have the Resistance doing something else with the First Order as the other adjacent storyline, so it would have to be somewhat similar to Empire in that sense, but that's sort of where that similarity ends, because Rian Johnson took this and just ran with it and made mainly Rian Johnson.
And again, I really appreciate that takes care of the retelling of 5 and 6 in this movie and a little bit. I mean, and enough that it still felt like, okay, this needed to happen, but not so much that it wasn't so heavy-handed that it felt either. Like,
but it also,
the Hoth battle.
It also ends in a more open place than Force Awakens, because this movie ends in a place where you could do anything, whereas The Force Awakens ends in a place where you have to do certain things, and this movie
so
do whatever you want.
So I have. With that being said, now I'm going to apologize to our audience a little bit. My focus has been a little bit divided on doing some other stuff on top of doing this, but I have a lot of thoughts that I've been kind of holding back a little bit because I didn't want to come too heavy-handed. But if people are still listening to us, I feel
give me that heavy hand. Give me your heaviest hand.
So I'm gonna come at you like a freight train right now. I'm gonna kind of go through a few things that
I was just at a train museum on Friday. I'm ready. I've seen trains.
Okay, so with that being said, first and foremost, the fact that this is, unfortunately, and I will really say unfortunately, Carrie Fisher's final appearance, if you will,
performance in a film.
Yeah, but it's the fact is, as emotional as it was for me, I have no idea what they're going to do with this character other than, now that she has lost her husband and her brother, she dies of heartbreak like Padme Amidala off screen.
I don't think they're going to kill her. I think she's going to retire. I think she's going to leave or give up her position and she'll fade out.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll kill her character.
I don't know.
I hope not, but I don't. But I mean, that's what Cody was just saying was, it has this whole fact of where the first one of this new trilogy, you kind of knew where everything was going. Now, and it's nice in a way, we have no idea where it's going because
we were just discussing that one before you got back. We like that too.
So the fact of what we thought was the big bad is now gone, and our big bad is a whiny little bitch.
Yeah, but he's less whiny.
You really hate Kylo.
He's less whiny in this movie than he was
Kylo
previously.
also has the most reasons to be whiny. He woke up and his master was gonna kill him. Like at the end, when Luke is standing there and he's like, "Fire every gun we have at that man," I was like, "Yeah, I would totally say that too. That fucker tried to kill you in his sleep." Yeah, 100%.
Anyways, besides that, I mean, there was. So moving on, the big thing I wanted to focus on in my first train roll here is Carrie, because what I really liked was they have her daughter, Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd, playing a character in the movies.
In this movie, yeah. She
And
had some small cameo in The Force Awakens, and this time she actually got stuff to do, which was cool.
Yeah. And I think that's, number one, that's really wonderful, and it was great to see her. It was great to see that they actually had Leia acknowledge her character, too, a few times.
Mm-hmm. Who was that, then? Because I don't remember
Billie Lourd. At the very beginning of the movie, when they're getting the transports off the
right. No, now I remember her now. She's
up a picture of
radio
her. Yeah, if you look up a picture of her, you can totally tell it's Carrie's
daughter.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about now. I just didn't remember
who nods at Poe when Holdo's like, "What was that?" She's like, "Oh, nothing."
Yeah.
A part of me wants, and I don't want it to be. I know some people may like, "Oh, this is horrible. Don't do this." What if because Carrie's gone now? I kind of want Billie's character to step up in the next one and maybe take over some of the role that Leia was supposed to have without being Leia,
Well, but I don't know how they can do that without her actually being Leia's daughter or some relation to her. Yeah. Because otherwise it's just a family relation from the outside of the movie.
I know, but I don't know. Anyways, that's just my own wish, is because we all know that Billie, on top of losing her mother, lost her grandmother in the span of a week.
Jesus Christ,
and
so
it's just something that I would, but at the same time, I think Carrie wouldn't want is her daughter being wrapped up in the Star Wars fandom too much.
No. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think that Carrie would want Leia's story to be compromised for any reason. So I really think they should just recast Leia. As hard as that is to say, I think it would be better to just play out the story as it should be, rather than kill her off in the crawl, or say she retired in the crawl, or have some weird CG Carrie scene where it's a final goodbye. I don't want any of that. I'd rather just recast the character, or just say it's been 3 to 4 years since The Last Jedi, and they've lost.
These are the people. In memoriam type of thing, but I don't know if you heard, George. I don't know if this was before you got back, but the scene at the end when Poe says, "Follow me," and Carrie says, "What are you looking at me for? Follow him."
Yeah,
she passes the torch to him at that moment.
Setting it up
I agree. I don't
think
hear that, but I agree with it. With that being said, I mean, these movies are about passing the torch. I just don't like that the passing the torch comes from, every movie, let's kill off one of the original 3. Yeah. That's the one thing that's bothering me. Now, that's not to say,
who knows if that's what they wanted to do.
I don't think Luke's death doesn't make sense. It does. To me, Han's death still does not make sense. I understand, and all it makes sense to me is wise. Now, Jason, you already said the thing of Kylo's all about letting go of the past, but he can't let go of the past because we saw the way that he. So, anyways,
that's his conflict.
Yeah, so anyways, but like, so I was hoping that Han's death may make more sense in this one, and it didn't, other than the line, not even a line, other than the fact of we're writing it off that Kylo is a butthurt little boy that has daddy issues.
No, see,
And I
because
think
I
daddy issues.
rewatched The Force Awakens this morning now that I know that Kylo is Kylo because of Luke, and I actually found, because I already thought Kylo was a fairly compelling villain to begin with, and I thought he was even more so now rewatching The Force Awakens with the context that The Last Jedi provides.
Yeah, no, I agree with that now, but I don't agree with it in Force Awakens. I'm with George in Force Awakens. He's just a whiny kid. I thought he was obnoxious. But I liked his character well enough to think that he was intriguing, but that he was just like, man, me, you guys are mean. I didn't like that.
I want to point out, too, is
I don't think that's quite his character, but okay.
I want to point out is I feel like... I don't want people to misunderstand. I think Adam Driver is a great actor. So it's not the actor's fault.
Yeah, him and Daisy Ridley are like the two best performances in this movie. 100%.
Yeah.
For me, it's not the acting standpoint. It's just, for me, I think it's the writing of Kylo. Now, did this movie make Kylo a little bit more, I don't want to say sympathetic, but I understand. I understand what he's... I can see some of the justifications in a diseased mind of why he's gone down this path. But the fact of the matter is, and we've been writing on and off of the fact of, yes, Luke failed him. Okay, I get that. Luke did fail him. But with that being said, it's already been established that Snoke had some sort of contact with Kylo up to this point. So even if Kylo, who is conflicted right now, or maybe not anymore, he doesn't seem to be conflicted by the end of this movie, but all his time being conflicted, and then he realizes, and Snoke says it to him several times during this movie too, is I have been training you back even when you were with Luke. Wouldn't an undeceased, and this is why I say diseased mind, because obviously there is something mentally wrong with Kylo also. But with that being said, in an undeceased mind, wouldn't he realize, oh, this is why maybe Luke acted the way he did? I know the stories of my grandfather. Snoke was clearly manipulating me. This is why Luke reacted the way he did.
Well, I think he realizes that Snoke was manipulating him. That was the whole thing when he tells her to kill Rey, and he's like, this guy is a dick, man, and he's been this way all my life.
Yeah, but I get that. But do you see this, like what I'm saying? The way, so I went into this one expecting some sort of justification for murdering his father. Like,
well, he's a sociopath. He has there's no compunction for really right and wrong.
That's the other thing I really liked about him in this movie, is that I kind of didn't want just another redemption arc. And as cool as it was when he kills Snoke and gives Rey the lightsaber and they kill all the Praetorian guards, I was a little like, well, where does it go from here then? Because that's the worry I had. And I was glad that when he saw the seat of power, he wanted it, and now he's become like a more set in villain. Like, he is legitimately the actual villain, and she is...
Right, at that point the decision is made.
Protagonist.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I've had with a lot of the expanded universe books, is that there are no more villains. Like, all the villains are also good in some way. And I like that Kylo Ren is not that at all.
Okay, I get that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I think that we have had that arc of, we have watched the Skywalker go evil and then come back. I just didn't like that we have yet another Skywalker that is yet again evil. And I guess technically speaking, he's a solo.
But don't you find it compelling that it was the protagonist Skywalker of the last series in a failure that created another evil Skywalker? Like, he's the one who turned the most evil Skywalker, Vader, to being good again, and he failed in a horrible moment and then created another one. Do you don't think
I
that's
guess,
super awesome?
no, I do, but here's the thing. It would have been more super awesome if the last episode was we actually saw this Ben growing up with Luke and Luke failing him, and not in a clip that took a minute.
Yeah, but that's a
Yeah,
different
no,
movie.
I think that would have been good too, with a little bit of establishment. But that, it was probably not written until this movie.
No,
Well,
and I'm
that
not okay. But that's my big thing. Is my big thing here is it's not that I don't see the justification. I do. There's just something about it that still doesn't rub
sit
me
well with.
right way. It doesn't sit well, and I guess for lack of a better term, it's.
Well, I
don't know.
I have a quote from Ryan Johnson here. I've got two actually, but
Okay.
this one is specifically about Kylo Ren that I think might put some things into context for people who have problems with him still. They asked about writing specific characters for The Last Jedi, and when asked about Kylo, Ryan Johnson said, and I quote, "Writing Kylo Ren is just so much fun. Star Wars boils down to the translation from adolescence into adulthood. That's the heart of these films, and Rey is the most obviously the one that hangs on, but it's also Kylo. In the originals, you project early onto Luke, while Vader is the scary other. He's the Minotaur. The fascinating thing about Kylo and Rey is that they're two sides of something. We can all relate to Kylo, to that anger of being in turmoil of adolescence and figuring out who he's going to be as a man, dealing with anger and wanting to separate from his family. He's not Vader. At least he's not Vader yet, and that's something I really wanted to get into." And I think in the movie, he becomes Vader. He becomes what he wanted to become because Rey helped him reach that seat of power.
Okay. I like the quote, and I get that. I do, and there's a part of me that is a little bit more understanding now.
Yeah,
it's
a completely different relation
I think
from
the thing
from
that comes
Luke and Vader.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I think the thing that it comes down to me with, and this just could be who I am as a person, and maybe that's why it's good that it bugs me so much, is here we have a kid that is surrounded by all these forces of good, but when it comes down to it, and he has that chance to come back and make some sort of redemption, I don't think, honestly, I still stand by it. Even if they had taken out Snoke, they had taken out Snoke's guards, and he came back with her, I don't know with some fans if there would ever truly be redemption because Han Solo was so beloved.
Yeah. And that's
how
another reason why I'm okay with it.
From your father?
Well, that's why I'm okay with him not finding redemption. Like he chooses to go more villain, which is cool.
No, and that's the thing that I think fundamentally comes down to me, and this is the thing that Cody, you and I have talked about before, is when I witness stories, I kind of like, for lack of a better term, I like that hope. That's not to say there's no hope in the story. Obviously, there is. It's Star Wars. There's always been that symbol of hope.
It very much ends on a very hopeful note.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying is the character himself, and everyone comes out and says it. Even Leia says there is no hope for Ben anymore. She basically says that.
Yeah, he's not my son anymore. He hasn't been for a long time.
There's no redemption for Ben anymore. I don't even think she calls him Ben in that moment. She calls him Kylo. So, and I think that's what makes it hard for me is, and maybe that's a good thing too, is here we have two sides of, like what the director was saying, we have two sides of the coin. We have Daisy, who was brought up in shit. She is, and this is why I like the idea of her parents actually being nobodies, and this is the thing that I was defending.
Yeah, it goes back to what Snoke said about how his equal in the light would rise, and what she rose as someone who is the complete opposite of Kylo Ren, someone who has everything and has someone who cares for him and grows up with anything he could want, learning from Luke, learning from Snoke, being
so
the leader of a big army, and she comes out of nowhere and has nothing.
Well, let me finish what I was saying, because I was going to go a little bit deeper with this. And the way that I'm going deeper, maybe this is the teacher in me, so I look for connections that my students could come from. I work kind of in an underprivileged town, if you will. And a lot of these kids come from, I don't want to say nothing, it sounds horrible, but for back of the letter term, kind of nothing,
Not
and
Beverly
here we
Hills.
have, so here we have Rey, who, even if, now deep down, would I love her to still maybe be a Kenobi or something? Hell yeah,
no.
that'd be great.
I don't want it
but with that being said, her being a nobody, I like that too, because it shows to all the little girls that are watching, it doesn't matter where you can come from.
Well, that's definitely the message that Disney wants to send.
Yeah, you can rise and do anything, and that's what I love about Rey, is here she is, and she had none of the opportunities in the world, and she has rose to be a symbol of good, where Kylo is kind of that Beverly, like what Cody just said, that Beverly Hills aspect of here he's had everything, and look at what he's become.
Yep.
Right.
It's very much, and with that what the director said and that comparison, now I kind of like the Kylo character maybe a little bit more, because I understand that, well, look, I'm symbolizing the fact of, here's somebody who's had every opportunity, and he still fails.
Yeah.
Well,
and
there's something I want to say too.
Okay.
About it's going back a step or two, because I just thought about it when you said your equal in the light will rise. Okay. And you're saying there's no hope for Kylo Ren. It's stated in the movie there's no hope for Kylo Ren, but then Kylo Ren has made the choice that he is now dark completely.
Yeah.
But Daisy hasn't yet made the choice that she's totally on the light side.
Yeah.
She went directly to the evil side, to the dark, and she's still got a lot of temptation for the dark. So maybe there's because if he's her equal.
100%. To your point, when Luke is talking to Leia, and he goes, "I'm not here to save him," she goes, "Yeah, I held on hope for so long, but I know when a son is gone." And he says, "No one's ever truly gone," which of course is obviously a great double entendre play. Somehow hauntingly talking about Carrie Fisher as well.
All right.
Yeah. Oh my God. Just don't. I'm gonna start crying.
Not then.
But yeah, he's obviously talking about Ben, but. Yeah, and I find that interesting.
I don't know.
Especially coming from someone who saw his father in that same place and still believed in him. So I can totally see how Luke would say, no one's ever really gone.
Yeah, no, and I don't know. I'm really interested to see where they go, because for the first time I have no idea where.
I have no clue.
There's still it's really safe to say that there's still a lot of potential for forward development for Kylo Ren, and Rey. Of course, they have to develop Rey further because she's just basically not yet. But but Kylo's gone through these steps, and he's starting to make decisions, and now they've got him doing that, they can actually develop his character into something.
I will say one other thing, though, about the Kylo and Rey aspect. The last movie felt like it was Rey's movie, and that's fine. Yeah, this movie felt like it was Kylo's movie, and that's fine too. I don't think so, because I didn't feel I felt like there was development for her, but not as much as there was for Kylo.
Well, they have basically the exact same amount of screen time.
Okay, but I still feel like at the end of the day, this was more Kylo's journey movie, if you will.
He ends up in a far more different place than he was at the beginning of the movie compared to Rey, who's
compared to her,
of a more similar place. So I will give you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Because I agree with you.
But she sort of chooses that, because he says that when he's like, rule the galaxy with me, and she's like, no, don't do this. He's like, no. You're still holding on to how this worked before. This doesn't work the same way anymore. You're still holding on to the Sith and the Jedi, and that's bullshit. You've seen how it's bullshit. Stop holding on to that. I think that's interesting.
And a part of me gets
And that's
that, but
sort
at
of
the
also
same
Ryan
time-
Johnson literally talking to Star Wars fans, like, your Star Wars is gone. Sorry, I made something better. And he's...
So, with that being said, I mean, as much as I understand, like, that is Kylo's motivation of, we have to do a fire sale. We have to burn it all to the ground and then start fresh. But at the same time, and it goes back to what we were discussing about him being a sociopath, him being mentally unstable,
Yeah,
you know, whatever.
I mean, I can't imagine what sort of mind I would have if my dad woke up with a sword above my bed. Like, I'd go pretty fucking
dad,
crazy.
Uncle, but
Yeah.
even still. But
It's
whatever.
He spent
Yeah,
way more of
he-
his life with Luke than Han, probably.
Yeah.
okay, even still. But the fact of the matter is, Kylo's logic is illogical too, because clearly he's risen to. He may be a different kind of Sith, but there's no mistaking he has stepped into the role of the stereotypical Sith.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's
so
I also love that too,
everything-
because that sort of brings to the hypocrisy he has at the end when he's so focused on Luke, when really he should be focused on what Hux is trying to focus on, of actually clearing out the resistance. But it's because of his connection to the past. That's the hypocritical irony of that. That is his fault and his failure, right? Like, this movie's about failure. Kylo fails then as well.
Speaking of that, that was the last joke that actually landed with me. Was take me down to him. And he smashes Hux out of the way right away. You know?
Right away. That was really good too. Yeah.
Okay, so back on my train. So we've been on the Kylo thing for a while. You asked a lot about the what do they call the gambling planet, the Beverly Hills. Yeah. So and I was kind of quiet before because I didn't know how exactly to say this. I feel like this planet, this scene, number one, it kind of slowed down everything for me.
It did.
More than it was.
Yeah, it did slow down.
It's not that I dislike Rose. I actually really liked Rose as introducing the character, even more so the end where she makes a big flaw. You know, the fact
I don't like that character after that flaw.
Okay, but I do. I mean, if we're all talking about,
I understand why you could like that, but
No, I didn't like the whole kiss thing. That was.
But no, Canto Bite, I agree. Definitely slowed down a lot.
Liz just said, because she's listening to me do this, is she was still holding out for Poe and Finn to be the first gay couple in space.
Okay.
No, I really loved just a quick tangent there at the end when Finn and Rose bust in with the transport, and Poe's like, Finn, Rose, you're alive. Great. Where's my droid? There's way more about his relationship with BB-8 than Finn. I was like, yes, awesome. I love that.
That's what I'm saying about this planet is there is a part of me that feels this was Johnson's maybe not so underhanded way of, hey, this is kind of the mentality of what is going on in America right now.
Yeah,
the fact that
the
the overreach
obvious. Like, they literally say it in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, okay, I get your social commentary there. I thought the creatures, I have to admit, the giant creatures that they were riding on, they were adorable, and they reminded me of
They were
Trico.
not adorable.
if anybody played The Last Guardian, they reminded me of Trico from The Last Guardian.
Okay. Yeah.
But with that being said, then we come to Benicio del Toro, and I already, I get Jason's approach of this could have literally been played by anybody.
It could have.
Okay. But I think Benicio del Toro wanted it, and that's why he got it.
Well, he did a good job.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he did a great job. I loved him in it. But yeah, he didn't need to be there.
He was a great actor. I adore him. Like, anytime I see him in a movie, I mostly adore him. But with that being said, I've already mentioned how much I liked his character simply because we had that true scoundrel character of, he clearly felt bad about it. He's like, "Hey, I have nothing against you guys."
Yeah, he's
and
like,
he
I just
was
don't want to die either.
considering over his words. Clearly, he felt bad and he felt guilty. Um, and I like that. Would I like to see him again? Yeah, maybe, but I would be totally okay if we didn't, because he did his part. I heard you guys mentioning Phasm, who was once again completely and utterly wasted. Do I believe she's truly dead? Probably not. She'll come back again, maybe. Um, let's see.
Yeah, who
Where
knows,
else?
right? Because she died in the she was exploded on Starkiller Base last time. This time she just fell into a mere fire.
Well, we never saw a body, and in this time, yeah, we see her body fall into a fire. Before, we don't see anything. This one's like, okay.
But with that being said, so moving on, and the thing that I got to talk about is, so growing up, my two favorite characters in Star Wars, and this is, obviously changed the older I get, but growing up, my two favorite characters were always Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was a little bit older because I liked Obi-Wan more, I think, with watching Ewan McGregor, who I've always loved Ewan McGregor, and really fleshing out Obi-Wan as a character. But with that being said, growing up, Luke Skywalker was always my favorite. So when we saw him now, I can see where people would feel so divisive and
oh yeah, I can too.
Being so, frankly, and excuse the language, but butthurt about it.
I wouldn't go that far. I'd say if you don't like this movie, that's totally okay. I completely understand why. It takes Star Wars into completely uncharted territory, and a lot of people aren't going to be comfortable with that, and that's okay.
Here's the thing, and this is what it comes down to, is number one, Luke has always, the original series wanted him painted in that light of, here is the ultimate good guy, if you will. But when you watch the original series, you realize that most of the stuff that Luke does, he just stumbles upon it. He just sort of do.
Yeah, it's not until Jedi when he actively decides to go confront Vader.
Yeah, but even then, it's not him. He doesn't do much. I mean, Vader is clearly holding back in that fight, and Vader is the one that ends it all.
Well, he is until Luke almost kills him.
So the fact is, we have this character that is legend far outweighs probably, in some regards, the deeds that he actually did. A lot of it is accidental. Or because of the Force, whatever you want to say. So I like that we see this character that he goes, when Rey confronts him, he's like, I'm not who you think I am.
Yeah, this isn't going to go the way you think it is.
Yeah, this is not going to go the way you think it is, because deep down Luke knows that he's flawed. He's not, and that's the thing I think that is brilliant too, is every single Star Wars movie up to this point has been about the failure of the Skywalker line, and here we see Luke didn't save the Skywalker line. He lived up to it. He failed, just like Anakin did, and just like Ben did.
Well, and that's why he exiled himself too. He talked about how he believed in the legend of Luke Skywalker himself. He bought into the hype himself, and so when he saw that failure in himself holding that lightsaber because of his just reaction to what he saw in Kylo, he was like, "No, I am not the legend I am, and because I've bought into this, now, I mean, if I fail, then the whole Jedi must be a failure." And he's right. They did fail at the height of their power. So
yeah, and that's so. I just think he goes back to Luke fails, and that's the thing. Is it in some ways? Going as somebody that's grown up watching Star Wars, when you see Luke has failed, then you go back and you re-examine him, and you realize he's not the pitch perfect hero, And I think when people see that and they see a flawed hero, it hurts. And I think that's where a lot of anger is coming from. Is nobody wants to see a flaw, their hero flawed. This is what we run into the problem with, like the whole Man of Steel debate. That I've never had an issue with, and we all know how huge of a Superman fan I am.
Mm-hmm.
But the Man of Steel debate of, oh, how dare they have Superman kill Zod, where it's like, yes, in the comic books he doesn't really kill, but then you watch the Christopher Reeve film and he kills Zod with a smile on his face. But it's the whole thing of watching your hero fall. And we've seen the hero's journey with Luke, and I know Johnson was talking about this, the fact of we've already seen the hero's journey completed with Luke. That's why this movie's not. He doesn't need another one. It's Rey's hero journey. But I can see where people are upset on the Luke aspect, because at first when they got to the actual scene with him igniting that lightsaber over Ben, I was in the movie theater and I whispered, no, 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 don't do this.
Yeah, I thought the same way too. Until Luke explained it, then I became pretty okay with it.
No, and then so with that being said, I don't like how Han was hardly ever mentioned in this movie as well. They passively mentioned.
Well, but we got a whole movie about Han. I don't need another one, right? Like,
okay, I guess maybe this goes back to my Kylo problem of, I guess I wanted a true explanation. I guess the only explanation that we get is sociopath daddy issues, because I don't, unless he blames Han for allowing Luke to train him and Luke standing over him with a lightsaber, but that's a stretch in and of itself. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that fell like a little bit, not, I don't want to say flat, but they fell into place a little weird for me. And I think it all comes with Kylo, is I still don't know truly what I feel about Kylo. I guess it's because I'm never, as a moviegoer, as a story reader, as a comic book fan, I've never gotten to that point where it's like, yes, I really like this villain, and I like that I've seen his origin story and how he became a villain. The whole thing with the Star Wars prequels, with seeing Anakin become Vader, like, I didn't need that. Like, there was aspects that
it was better as a mystery, which is why I don't really want to have like a movie or sequence of a montage with Kylo and Luke growing up together and eventually Luke betraying him, because it's better to have that mystery in the back of your mind. Like imagine him and Chewie,
especially the way they did
together,
it, because
right?
Especially the way they did it, because they told it from two sides and then never told you which side was really true.
Yeah, that's true.
They're both true. It's just Kylo didn't know what Luke was thinking. He just
right, but you don't.
Instinctively.
Which context is right, though? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, was Luke actually just a murderous idiot right at that moment, or is he telling the truth?
Well, they're both telling the truth.
I think Luke. Luke was scared.
Okay.
I think Luke was scared. Luke let his emotions get the best of him.
Right, and I think that's probably true. I think there's probably a lot of people that think that way, but there might be enough people that think that, maybe Luke was actually faltering, and he's telling Rey that to get himself out of, I don't know, some kind of quote-unquote trouble.
Now, with that being said, the one thing that I wanted to go back to briefly, because I was thinking about this too, of we mentioned briefly the Jedi tomes that were in the tree that is not actually a Force tree. They didn't go down that route. Thank God.
Poe's parents still have a tree, so we'll...
But with that being said, are we supposed to believe that Rey actually went back for the books? Was it Yoda's Force Ghost that put the books in there?
No, I think Rey took them. I 100% think Rey actively took them. I don't think Yoda. I don't think Yoda would care if they were gone or not. So I don't think it matters if Yoda knew she had the books or if Or if she slipped that past Yoda too.
Well, that
as
and
put it,
actually
page
thinking
turners,
about
they were
that
not.
now, that answers a question to me. The question I had earlier is, how does Rey finish her training? Well, the fact that she's got all those books right there, she can do some sort of self-training.
Plus, I think Luke's going to come back as a Force Ghost.
I think that'll
read them eventually.
I think they would be dumb not to utilize Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill cares way too much about the franchise and
I think
and stuff like that.
At least for one.
And but with that being said, there was a few things that I did read something that Johnson had said, that he promised that in this movie we were going to get a new lightsaber hue. Did I miss that? Was there a new lightsaber color that I didn't notice?
No, I don't remember seeing that from Johnson.
I don't know if there was a new one, but we did get to see the green one again, briefly.
Yeah, but he didn't. He said there was going to be a new hue. I wonder if they cut it out. The other thing I want to address is, so we've had this symbol of Luke's original lightsaber, and as the movie begins, he tosses away, saying it's not important. Do you think now we're going to get, because it's trivial, but I'm really looking forward to it because I do like lightsabers. I think everybody deep down likes lightsabers. Do you think Rey is going to develop for herself a staff saber?
I don't know.
Because she's so proficient with her staff.
That's what I thought they would do in this movie, but I don't know if they will or not. I don't really think I care. I did really like, though, when she's holding both ends of the lightsaber at the end, though, and she's talking to Leia about the Resistance. She says, "What are we supposed to do with all this?" But she's holding the lightsabers, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
you got two pieces.
You got two pieces. The Resistance is broken, just like the lightsaber.
When she said that, they zoomed into the crystal. You could see the crystal.
Yeah, the
so that's where I thought, she's going to develop her saber, and that's maybe the final scene would be her igniting her new saber, and that's where the new lightsaber hue would come in.
If they were smart, they should have, because this movie does a lot of rhyming. I know I hate quoting George Lucas, but he was sort of right with the prequels when he said, "I don't like things to repeat, I like them to rhyme." And I know a lot of people had some criticisms of The Force Awakens doing a lot of repeating. It does do a couple repeating, but I think it mostly rhymes. This movie is entirely rhymes. It would be stupid of them to not have one little rhyme in Episode 9 where you have the reveal of her new lightsaber the same way you had the reveal of Luke's green lightsaber in the beginning of Return of the Jedi. Because that was a really cool moment. If they have something like that for her, I think that would be awesome. Just like, don't make a big thing about it. Some time has passed. She's
carrying around her staff, using her staff like she normally does, and then in a moment of great need, it ignites to a double-ended lightsaber.
Something like that. I think they could. She could definitely have a green lightsaber moment like that. That would be cool. Even if it's a green lightsaber, I'd be cool with that too.
Well, I hope it's more yellow or orange, one of the two. But with that being said, I mean, a few of the things that did bug me that I want to bring up really quick, and they're little things. They're not major things. Besides Kylo, that was a major thing. But I think now talking it over, I'm a little bit better about it. With that being said, Chewie, like, this takes place exactly after the events.
Yes.
And we have Chewie, who is basically not really in this movie all that much.
No. But at the same time, it's the first movie that Peter Mayhew wasn't playing Chewie, so I was a little okay with it. So
I know, but with that being said, like, man, I guess I wanted Chewie to be more, I don't know, angry or depressed or moody. Like, I wanted him. So when Luke kept shutting out Rey, and then we see the door blast off,
I thought, like, how is her force power that fucking strong already?
Yeah, that's what I first thought was her using the force to blow off the door, and then it was Chewie. But then I wanted Chewie to be actually angry, like, you weren't there for Han, you weren't there for us. Yeah. Like, I wanted something emotional.
That would seem to sort of fit Chewie's character, but he gives this kind of I don't want to talk about it moment.
I guess. I don't know. I just wanted that raw Wookiee emotion of, I have lost my brother, where the hell were you?
Hey, at least we got Chewie hugging Leia that we didn't get in the last movie.
Yes, at least we got Chewie hugging Leia. And I have to say, every time that I will go back and watch this movie, when Luke's force projection comes into the room with Leia and he kisses her on the forehead, I'm even getting choked up now. It's
So
just
good.
a beautiful image.
It is. And
It's like,
he hands her the dice that he didn't
yes,
actually hand her, which we
yeah,
found.
but
Oh, it's so good.
it's the fact of it's almost like you're seeing Mark kiss Carrie goodbye, and
Yeah.
it's just
I know they
beautiful.
didn't plan it that way, but holy shit.
Yeah, it was never
Come
planned that
on,
way, so I never
No,
looked at it like that. It's nice to look at it that way in retrospect, but
It's one of those
it was
haunting
never looked
things
at.
where it's like when a musician passes and you re-listen to their lyrics and you're like, oh, that's a little weird
yeah,
now. Yep. All right. Uh
and
huh.
it's just I think the other thing that was bothering me, and I think maybe I misread it because I was actively avoiding spoilers for this movie.
Yeah.
Um, somebody posted, I thought it was Billy herself, Billy Lord, who posted that you need to stick around after the credits.
Oh.
Halfway through the credits, it reads, for our
Yeah.
princess Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm getting choked up again. But what I was really hoping for the first time was, and
Have an end
we've all
credit
seen
scene.
that behind the scenes video of Carrie to David Bowie's Rebel Rebel. There was a
Oh
part of me
yeah.
that wanted after the credits maybe that video to show again, or maybe
I didn't stay for the very end either time. Was there anything at the end of the credits?
no, and that's what I was waiting for. Was I was thinking maybe we were gonna have it was going to cut to a behind the scenes clip of them saying, like, that's a wrap for
Yeah.
Carrie, and maybe Johnson
Yeah,
going up
they
and hugging her or something saying
That
thank
would have been
you.
cool, but I
And
mean, this
then,
is already the longest
uh,
Star Wars movie at 2.5 hours, and I saw a lot of kids getting really antsy throughout the movie, and one even like sort of whispering that they were bored to their mom and stuff like that. So I could see the why they wouldn't want
you
to
know
force people to wait through a whole credit
from
sequence.
from a kid's perspective. Now this I was going to tell this story earlier because it's a little bit funny. Um, Jesse's the one that called me up. You met Jesse, I think maybe one
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
Cody, when we went to his house.
We played some games.
I went with him and his kids
Mm-hmm.
to go see this.
They
And
dig it.
beforehand, we were going to go see Santa Claus and for the kids to see Santa Claus, but he never showed up. The Santa Claus they had hired never showed up. So we were like, okay, well, I guess we're leaving. But anyway, we got to the movie theater at 8 o'clock, and we didn't get out until almost 11, of course.
Gosh, yeah.
10:35, 10:40, whatever. And his kids were glued to the screen the whole time. They were super
really?
into it.
That's
They were
awesome.
never tired or bored or anything, which I thought was really cool. They were super into it.
I could see why some younger kids would find this boring. It is a slower Star
Well,
Wars movie.
they are, I think, 4 and 5.
Really? Okay. I could see how maybe that argument might come up that this is a more boring Star Wars film for kids because it's slower. But with that being said, what I liked too was so the last episode was. I mean, I don't know how young I would show that, especially with Han's death and everything. Um, but with that being said, I do feel like this was a more mature Star Wars film than say the last one.
Well, it's got the more brutal lightsaber fights of any of them that I've seen. I
That's
don't
true.
remember ever
That's
seeing a lightsaber go through someone's freaking face. When that happened, there was a mom who had like 5 kids next to her, and she was like trying to reach over and cover half their eyes, but couldn't reach all her kids. I was like, oh yeah, and the one Praetorian guard that gets thrown into the thing and his guts like fly out everywhere. It was like, holy shit! That was not.
Oh yeah, the guy that
People's
yeah, the guy
throats
that
are
turns
getting
into
slit
confetti.
and their heads are getting chopped off. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the way I looked at it, it was violent, but it didn't seem to be particularly gory to me. The guy
No,
that
compared to
turned
like Total
confetti.
Recall, it's not the most gory, but like in the context of it
Yeah.
being a Star Wars movie, yeah, I was a little shocked they went as far as they did. It was really cool. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, but it
Yeah,
was
no, I
definitely
love
oof.
that whole scene was like so awesome to me.
Yeah, it was
kept
so
me right
well
on my seat.
choreographed. You can tell Ryan Johnson's a big like anime and like Japanese film fan because like it's all over this movie. That shot of Luke standing before the new walkers and Kylo Ren's ship off in the
Oh
distance.
yeah.
Oh yeah, the shot through the door.
It was
That
like-
should have been a
that's
movie poster.
straight up out of a
yeah, that's
Kurosawa
just-
thing. Well, it
No,
probably
but,
will be, but it's sort of a spoiler to have it as a poster. Right?
Yeah, it would have definitely would have been.
So
But-
I gotta admit, I mean, I think when it comes down to it, we've been talking a long time too, and I have other stuff I gotta
Yeah,
kind of get done.
We're
But with that being
rounding
said,
up a
I
little
mean,
bit.
to kind of wrap it up, number one, I felt like this was a very beautiful send off for Carrie. But I'm
No,
heartbroken
that's
that
weird,
we
right?
will not get Carrie's movie.
Yeah,
Because the
I am
next
too.
movie
and
was
that's
supposed
why
to be her.
that's why I kind
her-
of want them
her
to just
story.
recast it because I'd like to know what Leia's movie was going to be.
I do too. But with that being said, you know, number one, it was a beautiful send off for Carrie. Even if people were unhappy with the cheese factor of
Superman
her saving
Leia?
herself through the Force,
Ugh.
I was okay with it because I would have been more upset if
I've seen
they
a
had
few
just
people
flat
say
killed
they're
her
okay
character
with
at
it.
the
So
moment.
you're not alone, but I think it's sort of funny. Funny looking at it.
Yeah, I think that they weren't going to do that anyway because she survived through the whole filming. So why would they even go through the
I
fact
doubt
of
that was
killing
added
her
in later.
that?
That was
I don't
in
know,
that
because-
to begin
But
with.
I expected that though at that point. I was like, oh, this is it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it made sense later because she didn't pass away until the end of till after the filming happened. So why would
I
they
was just worried at the last second. Disney's like, no, we have to deal
Yeah,
with this
and-
now, and this is
Yeah,
what
I was
happened.
like, dang, I guess they must have reshot a lot of the movie.
I'm glad
then,
they
but...
didn't. I'm glad they didn't. I understand some people will find that scene with her saving herself with the Force cheesy. I still liked it. I was very emotional when I saw it actually happen because I got to that point where the bridge blew up. I let out a breath like, okay, well, I guess this is how they're dealing with this, and I'm upset about it. And then I got more emotional that she was able to save herself. And then I thought that's how they're going to deal with it. Is she's just going to be in a coma for the rest of this or something, you know? But with that being said, my final thoughts on the movie is, I mean, I do understand how people can be not liking this film. I have the two other people that I went with. One of them was not a huge Star Wars fan. She didn't like it. The other one is a big Star Wars fan, and I haven't got a chance to talk to her, but she flat out has told me 2 or 3 times, I hated the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
now
like,
see when
she's-
Aaron went and told me she wasn't sure if she liked it or not.
Oh.
She
Okay.
was really middling.
Yeah,
that's weird.
no,
I haven't talked to anybody that's in the middle ground, but
Right,
with that-
I haven't either.
Well,
With that being
after
said,
I saw it, I watched
fact-
Dan's review. He's in the middle too. I'm
Okay.
I'm not in the this is the best Star Wars movie ever front, and I actually think that while The Force Awakens is a better Star Wars movie than it is a movie, I still think it's still a little bit of a better movie than Episode 8, even though it is a better movie than it is a Star Wars movie. Just because I feel like The Force Awakens is better paced, and there aren't as many things that I dislike in it. But there are a lot more things that I actively love in Episode 8. So I don't know. It's odd for me.
with that being okay, so back to what I was saying. I do understand where some people can come across, no, this movie is horrible. I don't see it, though. I see a movie that dared, a Star Wars movie of all things, that dared to be different, and it was, and it pulled it off pretty well.
It wasn't that different. I didn't think it was that different. It took it some new directions. And it's certainly poised to take it in all new
very
directions.
liberal with how a Star Wars movie could be and what characters could do in StarArs movies, which is why I think it went out on quite a few limbs in that respect. But yeah, it is still your big action set piece Christmas movie, which isn't too out of the realm, but it is a lot riskier than I thought they would let it be.
So I'm very intrigued to see where it goes. I really, really like the movie. Besides that, I gotta say that I think most of the actors put forth a really good effort. I think the ones that didn't, I feel was more writing problem than actor problem. I felt that Finn wasn't given kind of a lot to work with this movie. I can see where people would get really upset with his story with Rose, but frankly, that part wasn't written that well.
No, and if he was your favorite character
It
coming
was
out of
like,
Force
hey,
Awakens, you got
it
boned.
felt like they wrote the rest of the movie and then they realized, oh, what about Finn? Okay,
Well,
we need
it
to
was
throw Finn in
clear
here.
that
What can we
Ryan
do?
Johnson was like, I have a really cool story I want to tell between Rey and Kylo, and he clearly did. But then he was also like, I also have to figure out what they need to do with Poe and Finn, and he
Yeah.
just did something with them. I really liked what he did with Poe. I didn't like what he did with Finn.
Yeah, I liked what he did with Poe too, because Poe was probably the one character in the whole movie that screwed up more than anybody else.
Oh yeah, he's the reason there's no resistance, basically.
Yeah, so like I'm really interested what kind of redemption they give his character, because he definitely needs it. But
Yeah, I am too, and I think that maybe since they had they sent the distress signal, the call to arms right now. Well, we didn't get nobody's coming. Well, of course not. It happened 4 seconds ago. Nobody can respond in that time. That was first off a problem. For me.
Well,
Secondly,
they didn't mean respond as in hey, we're showing up. They meant respond as in like hey, we're on our way. No one cared.
Yeah.
yeah,
But somebody must. And
yeah.
that's how I think they're gonna have something to go along with that, I think, in the next movie. And of course, that's speculation. I don't really like that very much. No. But yeah, while we're giving final thoughts, though, I'm gonna give mine. Real quick. I enjoyed it. Like I said at the beginning, I enjoyed it. I think much more than I thought I was going to. After hearing a couple people go, well, I was like, oh man, come on. But no, I really had a good time watching it. The flow was only broken a couple of times, once very early, and then once at the end at the Casino Planet. But again, it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
No. The second viewing, I
definitely would like to go see it again. I would like to go.
I will say there is one aspect that, I mean, we briefly kind of talked around it, and he's a wasted actor. I'm really disappointed with the way they handled Snoke, because when Snoke was on the screen, I was very intrigued. Maybe it's because I'm such a big Andy Serkis. No, I'm a big Andy Serkis fan. Maybe that's what it is.
Hey, I am too. You're aware.
But with that being said, like I was like, okay, here's a villain that like he knows what's up. He's manipulating shit. He clearly has backstory with Luke that I'm waiting to hear about. And then, okay, he's gone, you know?
Yeah, I sort of felt that way too. But, you know, what Cody said makes sense.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
No villain so far has lasted more than his time did anyway, so why should it be different?
Yeah, he got more screen time than the Emperor did, and he played basically the same role that the Emperor had. And the Emperor in episode 5 only had one holograph scene. In The Force Awakens, he's got like 3.
Okay, I do have one question though, and this is maybe a nitpicky thing. Luke calls Palpatine Sidious. When did he learn that his name was Sidious? He knew the Emperor was...
He could learn lots of things. He had 30 years, bro.
All right, fine. I'll write it off. He learned off stage. But, like, didn't the Galaxy know him as Palpatine, not Sidious?
Well, yeah.
So why would he say Sidious? Why not Palpatine?
Well, he was Darth Sidious before he was Emperor Palpatine.
I get it.
But yeah, I know what you mean though, because I feel that way about Carrie's, force pulling herself back too.
Well,
it's possible to say that she
bothered
learned
me
off
too.
screen.
They were very wishy-washy about calling themselves the Rebellion and the Resistance back and forth all the time, and I didn't like that.
Yeah,
but that's a nitpick that I don't really care too much.
Anyways,
but before I
Cody,
give my final thoughts,
okay.
I want to do one last Ryan Johnson quote here. This was in an interview with Deadline. They asked, is there an overarching plot for where the trilogy goes? You obviously have The Force Awakens as a jumping off point, but is there a place you needed to go in order to set up J.J. Abrams' Episode 9? Ryan Johnson responded, not really. That's what's been really cool about the storytelling process. There is definitely the idea that we know it is the 3-movie arc, we know the first film is introduction, the middle act is training, meaning challenging the characters, and the third is where they all come together and you have to resolve everything. but I was truly able to write the script without bases to tag, and without a big outline on the wall. That meant I could react to what I felt from The Force Awakens and what I wanted to see. I could make this movie personal. I could also just take these characters where it felt right and more interesting to take them. I think part of the reason the movie feels like it goes into some unexpected places with the characters is that we had that freedom. If it had all been just planned out and written down beforehand, it might have felt a little more calculated, I suppose. And I find that really interesting because that sort of explains why this movie feels way more like a Rian Johnson movie than it does like a traditional Star Wars movie.
So let me ask you something, Cody. With that being said, knowing the fact that he wrote this himself, he knew that it had to be a middle ground. It's about training.
And they didn't have a plan after The Force Awakens. I find interesting. They were just like, you just do whatever you want, Ryan.
Yeah, so with that being said, do you think there's aspects about this movie that may show up in Rian Johnson's trilogy that he's working on?
100%.
Characters.
Broom Kid.
Okay.
Broom Kid.
Broom Kid? You think so?
Broom Kid's going to be the protagonist of his trilogy. I am putting money on it right now.
Really?
Okay.
It would play out as the perfect rhyme, wouldn't it? He is literally in the exact same place Anakin was.
Okay. I was going to say that it's going to be Benicio del Toro's character.
No, I don't want
that. It's going to be that.
I think he's gone. I don't think he's coming back.
I think it'll be Broom Kid, or it'll be someone who is very similar to Broom Kid, because they've already said that Rian Johnson's trilogy is not going to be tied to the Skywalker family in any shape or fashion.
But
also,
I kind of thought that meant that there was going to be no Jedis or anything.
I don't know what truth there is to it, but Daisy Ridley's already talking about not wanting to do any more movies.
Yeah, she just doesn't want it to be like
she doesn't want to be Rey anymore. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm okay with her leaving after Episode 9, and then, maybe 20 years down the road, she'll hop in another movie.
Yeah, maybe they age her character with another actress or something.
But I mean, I'm more than satisfied with everything most of the characters have gone in after just 2 movies. So after a third one, I think call it done with all of them. I don't think Rian Johnson needs to take Rey, Poe, or Finn, or Rhodes anywhere new after this. I'm cool with just Episode 9. Do whatever the fuck you want. Tell a resolving story, and then Rian Johnson can do anything. Just a
what I wanted
story with completely new characters.
After watching this and knowing that Rian Johnson is going to do his own trilogy, what I really wanted to have happen, and I know it wasn't, this is wishful thinking, instead of him doing Star Wars, give him a Mass Effect trilogy. Just give him Mass Effect. Give him Mass Effect. I feel like he could do his own thing, set in the Mass Effect universe, and let him do that.
I actually feel like JJ would be more suited to a Mass Effect movie, because Mass Effect feels more like the more modern Star Trek movies.
Yeah, right.
It does, though.
Don't Mass Effect started on the modern Star Trek movies.
I haven't seen a single one of them. Well, I've seen half of the first one, but the Mass Effect series is far more action-focused like those than this Rian Johnson Star Wars movie is. This feels more like a Kurosawa movie than like a Mass Effect movie.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Fine, whatever.
If anything, I'd say let Rian Johnson make a Battlestar Galactica movie, because even though he really put Poe off to the side to do that, he did that really well.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is a really good Battlestar Galactica movie. I mean...
A part of it is.
Yeah. Okay, so your final thoughts, Cody.
And if I have to give it the rating of best movie ever or worst movie ever, I'll call it the best movie ever. Since those are my 2 options. That's what the internet has told me. I only have those 2 options.
Right, okay.
So I'll pick the one that says it's good. Even though I clearly don't actually think it's the best movie ever. I don't even think it's the best movie of the year. I wouldn't even put it in my top 5 of the year. Maybe not even top 10. It's been a really good year for movies. But I definitely like it a lot. I obviously like it way more than Rogue One. I like it more than Return of the Jedi, but I also like The Force Awakens more than Return of the Jedi. I have to give it a few more watches. I saw The Force Awakens 5 times in theaters, and I've seen it God knows how many more times after that. I've only seen this twice. So
Fair enough.
I don't know what my final opinion on it is, but so far I like it.
All
I
right.
really, really love a lot of things in it. Like the Yoda scene, as I've said, probably my favorite scene in any Star
God.
Wars film.
That was great. All right. Well, there you have it, Internet. Cody feels that it is the greatest movie ever made, if he has to rate it that way.
Those are your two options. Have you
with
not
that-
looked at the
with
internet?
that very important caveat?
Have
yeah.
you not looked
Yeah.
at the internet? And there's no there's no in between anymore. It's best movie ever, worst movie ever.
Anyway, so I want to thank the Internet for bearing with us for probably way too long as we randomly talk about a movie
somehow
that
this
only
ended up
two
being
of
the
us
longest
only.
podcast, 2.5 hours.
For
Yeah.
about the
Yes.
length,
So-
of the movie.
So, all right. Well, I thank you guys for listening. Hopefully, in the future, we'll get to do a little bit more twin stick stuff. We've been kind of on break, and with
it's
net
the
neutrality
holidays,
on, we don't know what we're gonna do. So,
Yeah, we're not going to be able to afford to pay Comcast, so sorry.
Yeah, we will. If that actually happens, whoever listens to us now is probably
Yeah.
gonna have to listen to us a lot slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed listening to us with your $5 a month YouTube package. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed this, and I am very much excited to rewatch The Last Jedi and find out what the fuck they do in the next movie. So,
Yeah.
and may the force be with you all, or
Always.
just something like that.
may the force be with you, always. And we're just gonna end it right there. Bye.
Ugh.